You ever wake up with like this revelation of just pieces that were put together for some reason and it makes sense, something makes more sense to you? That happened to me this morning. I was thinking about Ripple, surprise, and XRP, and in particularly the Ripple when Brad Garlinghouse stood before the Senate Banking Committee, probably about a month ago now, and testified before them, along with other crypto people in the space. And a few things that caught my attention with that. I kind of understand government somewhat. I try to keep my eyes open when it comes to these things. But did you notice that they did not grill him? They gave him some softball questions, in my opinion. You know, those typical questions. What about privacy on the blockchain? What about security on the blockchain? And he could have answered those in his sleep, which he did. Um, and that is huge. That is an indicator to me because this is the Senate Banking Committee. And so they act for the banks, right? So go with me on this another analogy. Imagine I am a bank. I'm a banking institution, right? And I have my representative that is a part of this committee, that's a part of Congress. I am going to tell this person, back in 2018, 2019 or whatever, hey, squash this crypto stuff. This stuff is a threat. Do something about it, please. And then you have the Ripple lawsuit. You have people like Gary Gensler, you have people like Elizabeth Warren that fight and wage war against the cryptocurrency market, and particularly Ripple and XRP. And see, what happens is over time, Ripple gets stronger. The case drags on, but Ripple gains more momentum. And the banks realize, we're losing, or the SEC rather, sorry, realizes that we're losing and there has to be another play. In other words, if we can't beat them, let's join them. Let's harness blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, implement it in our current traditional finance system. And so the tune changes, right? Then you have this congressional meeting or a Senate committee, whatever, and they are, for the most part, welcoming to the digital asset space. You had some people getting chippy. You had Senator Kennedy, from Louisiana, got a little chippy with a few of the people there. But for the most part, they did not go after Brad. They did not go after him, and I believe there's two reasons why. One, because they're being sued by the SEC. It was a still active trial, which the trial is over now, but it was still an active case, right? And two, understand that people in government have certain interests, right? And there's public knowledge of what these people, Congress, Senate, it's public knowledge of what they buy and sell as far as stocks. I'm not sure as far as digital currency, so I'm not sure. Someone maybe in the comments tell me if that's public knowledge, but I know as a fact, traditional finance, TradFi, there is a paper trail on what they buy and do not buy. But don't think for a moment that they don't understand this market. And so if they have invested into Ripple, into XRP, why would they grill the man? Why would I have an interest in this asset and then sabotage my interest by going after the person that is, the center of it? Why would I do that? And going back to my analogy, I'm the bank, right? You guys are the representatives. All right, let's change our play. Ripple has built momentum. We can't beat them. Let's join them. All right, so let's do this congressional Senate committee meeting, whatever, and let's soften the blow. Let's play the game with them. Let's welcome them into the traditional finance space, and then boom, there you go. You see what's happening with many of the major players. They're now all of a sudden being the custodies of crypto assets. BNY Mellon, JP Morgan, they are custodians of digital assets now. And Ripple has been given the green light to do what they are set out to do from the beginning. And so while they grilled other people, they did not grill Brad Garlinghouse. They didn't do that. And that has huge implications. So on one hand, you have the court battle that's going on, that's active. And on the other hand, you have people that are on this committee that probably have interest in XRP and in Ripple, and that's not too far-fetched. Once again, this is the Senate Banking Committee. You think they're not talking to the banks? You think they're not talking to traditional finance or TradFi, or understanding how digital assets are going to work within this old system? They are talking. They have been talking. And you will tell by the way they go after certain people, and you will tell by the way they don't go after other people as well. And so pay attention to these instances. That was a big meeting. That was a huge deal. I think a lot of people don't realize how big deal that meeting was. You had traditional finance clashing with, it's not even clashing anymore, but it was a transition. Transition took place. Traditional finance versus the digital space, and they're realizing that they're not relinquishing anything. Let's get this straight. Traditional finance is not going to relinquish. I said this before in our previous videos, is that cryptocurrency, people come in, these Bitcoin maximalists or whatever, and they're like, oh, we're going to go down with the banks, down with it. They're not going to relinquish any power. That's not going to happen. Instead, they're going to make it seem like that you have more power than you had, but it's going to be within the framework that they have formed. And that's what happened. They are creating the framework. And so you can't get away from it. Unfortunately, you can't. However, you can do your best to work within that process, and then within that system as well. And so that's what I thought about this morning. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe for more.